Let's see how long it takes for a cat to jump on my lap. Hello, this is Sarah Soiledplant, and welcome back to my channel. The last 2 months I've been a little restless, more so than normal. I think partly because the housing market's so crazy and I'm trying to buy right now. Obviously unsuccessful thus far. And so I decided to just buy a couple of the things I had been holding off on purchasing in order to buy a house, just because it released some tension. Shopping does that sometimes. So I bought myself a new bed frame. I bought myself a new duvet cover and duvet. I bought myself some amazing skincare from South Korea that took like 2 months to get here, and it arrived today. So I'm very excited about that. All these sort of things, all these purchases has got me thinking about plants, of course, and all of those wish list plants that I would just love to have. And of course, due to saving for a house and having just large chunks of money just sitting in my account waiting to purchase that home, it makes me feel in the back of my brain like I can afford more for plants than I actually can. I've been pretty good about not buying expensive plants this year. I mean, relatively good. I think I made a big purchase in January, but aside from that, I've done a pretty good job of not spending quite so much on plants. So of course, when I was pulling ideas for what is on my wish list, what plants am I just lusting after, which ones do I see and I just feel like I just want to have so bad, of course, they're all insanely expensive. If that's of any interest to you, go ahead and keep watching, but don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's get to the wish list plants. If you are looking for a wish list that has a little bit more reasonably priced plants on it, I will link my previous wish list plant video. That one does have a healthy mix of like expensive plants and affordable plants. And unfortunately on this list, when I was compiling everything and I was digging deep as to like which plants would I love to own, there's really only one plant on this list that is on the more common side, but I will start with that one, and that is the Hoya obovata. I've got some images here on my phone just to reference as I go along. But basically, I've been trying to get more and more into Hoya. I've been dipping my toe a little bit. The problem I've found for Hoya is I can't find them. It's like this is a weird situation where for some reason, when I lived in Indianapolis, I couldn't find Hoya, and now that I live in Michigan, I cannot find Hoya. The only ones I find are Crimson Queen, Crimson Princess, and then occasionally Pubicalix, and that's about it. So lo and behold, those are the Hoya that I happen to own are those plants. Any of the ones that are slightly more obscure, you can pretty much find anywhere else. Even in the world, you can find really cool Hoya, just not where I live. If there was more access to Hoyas where I live, I probably would own more. But it seems like any Hoya that I have interest in, I can't find. So I always have to go to online sources to purchase things like that. And I'm trying as much as possible to shop locally, to save on shipping costs, to save on risk, and also to save on price a little bit. I'm sure you're very much aware of the benefits of buying local, and that's what I'm trying to do as I'm kind of getting used to caring for Hoya. But the obovata is one of those that has thwarted me for years. I don't even think I've seen one of these in person. I can't even recall, because a lot of times when I do find Hoya, they are sickly, they're overwatered, and they just don't look good. And the obovata is one of those that is easier to come by. I still have not been able to find it. Now, why I like this one, I will say I really like the round leaves it has. I like the more simplistic growth pattern. It's very much, in the standard Hoya realm. It can vine, it can climb, all of those things. And of course, there's a regular obovata and there's a splash variety. Honestly, I don't care which one I get. I would be happy with either. If I found one in a shop local to me, I would buy it in a heartbeat. But that's as simple as that. This is not a plant that I, lust over to where I'm like, I will buy this, I will find it, doesn't matter where or how, I will find it. It's not one of those. It's just like as soon as I finally see one that's in good shape and not insanely priced, I will probably buy one. That is the only Hoya on this list and the only one that's on the more common side. So I'm going to jump into my Syngonium. I have been getting more and more into Syngonium lately. I love that they kind of come in a sort of combination of shapes and colors that is kind of unique to syngoniums. I don't think that's really true, but at the same time it feels true because I just happen to see those colors more often. There's always exceptions, but it's just, I think they're really cool, and generally speaking, they're easy to grow, they're easy to propagate, they're just overall just really great plants. So I've been kind of looking into expanding my syngonium collection. The first one that I'm going to bring up is the Syngonium Red Arrow, also known as Erythrophyllum, I think. But I'm going to show you a picture of this. When I say this is a beautiful, glossy, goth-esque plant, oh my gosh, this is like the epitome. This is the Dark Lord, the Philodendron Dark Lord of syngoniums. They are that really beautiful, deep forest green. They've got those nice glossy leaves, that sheen that almost gives it a black color. If it was matte, it would definitely look more green, but the fact that it's glossy gives you that kind of like, is it black, is it green kind of scenario. The new growth comes in like a hot red, hot pink color, which is very similar to my Philodendron Audubonpoense, which I'm also a fan of. But the back sides of the leaves are ruby red, blood red. This is just perfection. I honestly, like, this is just beautiful, and I am getting more into the idea of having sort of lighter greens and darker greens in my collection so that there's a little more depth when you happen to look at my collection. It's not all just a mass of like that medium normal green tone. I want to have some deeper colors. I want to have some lighter greens. I want to have some pinks. I want to have some oranges, some yellows, all of those things, whites. So this is one of those that could fill in that void nicely. The next syngonium I'm going to mention, I'm probably going to butcher the name, but it is the Syngonium Nairnlima. This one is very hard to find. I have not even seen these really in like local, like online sellers. I mean, local to the US, not local to Michigan, but these are really kind of funky. They can grow, and when you look at it up close, it looks almost like a conventional syngonium, but they're actually very like long and skinny and then like shorter. So they're very like creepy looking. I'm not like the most into creepy plants. You know, I like plants that have kind of like an otherworldly sense about them, and this basically looks like an alien plant. Like if you go to a planet on Star Trek and you're wandering around, these are the types of plants you would see growing in all of these interesting planets. Like that's kind of the vibe I get when I look at it. And they almost look like little fingers. Oh my gosh. All you millennial kids out there, please tell me you remember salad fingers. They remind me of salad fingers. There's something seriously wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. I can't believe I just made that connection in my head just now, but it totally looks like salad fingers, you know, actual fingers. I just honestly, at the end of the day, just like that these are different and they're weird and they're a little creepy, because honestly, why not? And I like that they're a lighter green just on top of it. Total wishlist plant. This next syngonium's probably not going to come as much of a surprise. I already have a Syngonium elbow. I am not interested in the pink Syngonium. I forget what that's called. But one that I do really want is the Syngonium red spot tricolor, where it has a mixture of the pink and the white with the green. These are really pretty, especially when you get ones that have like a nice even-ish mix where it's like 10 to 20% pink and then like 20 to 30% white and then the rest of it is green. Like, oh, it would just be, I know. These are so expensive and they're highly sought after right now, but that's why this is a wish list. This is like pie in the sky, like imaginary world. I would love to have a big old plant of this tricolor that you're seeing right now. Just, it's so pretty. I'm not as into pink variegation as everybody else seems to be. I think it's lovely. It's just not really for me. I feel like the pinks aren't the kind of pink that I want, but like a just touch of pink like this one has. I say that and there's like my pink plant like right off camera. But I like my pinks to be more subtle. I don't like them to be quite so extravagant or dominant on the plant. I like when they're just like, just the hint of it, just to give it kind of like a little kiss of color, you know? And this is definitely fits that bill. I love it so much, and I really, really want one. Next, let's move on to Anthurium. I've got 2 of those on my list. I only own 1 Anthurium and it's not doing great, so it's probably going to be a minute before I feel comfortable enough buying more Anthurium, but I do have 2 on this list, and one of them is the Anthurium veitchii, also known as the King Anthurium. The last wish list I did for my channel, I talked about the Queen Anthurium, the Warwalkwinium, and this is basically the King version. They're both very long and skinny. I like all the ridges and the depth. All right, and I'm going to describe this, and hopefully this makes sense. But you know when you're making cake batter or some sort of like cupcake batter, something like that, and you've got your hand mixer with the 2 little spindles and you move it down and like move it up and down in the batter, and you make those little ripples that just kind of layer on top of each other and look almost like the top of hearts. That is exactly what the Anthurium veitchii looks like. And honestly, the reason I like these is just because I've heard that they're a little bit easier of an Anthurium to care for, and at the same time, they're very much a statement piece. They draw attention. It's hard not to notice them when you're in the space with them. And all of those ribs give it a lot of depth. It makes it unique, and also they get big. I am getting more and more jealous of people with enough space to have big, huge, whole, big ol' honkin' plants. I wish I had. I wish I had the space to do that. I really do. Maybe my love of this Anthurium veitchii is more of like a need for just big plants, big spaces, places for me to like put a big plant. Maybe that's all this is, but I love the little ripples that it comes with, and I think it's really, really cute. And I like that it's a little bit easier, at least as people report it. The second Anthurium that's on my list will not be a surprise based on some of the other things I've said in this video already, but the Anthurium luxurians. This is giving me alien skin. This is giving me frog skin. This is giving me the depth. It's got the glossy, which makes it almost look black. I certainly don't mind the Anthurium that are like the crystallinums and everything. I like the little veining, the sparkly veining, but there is something about me that is always drawn to these sort of unconventional Anthuriums. The ones that are a little more strange, a little more weird, and of course, creepy, otherworldly. But I want more plants that are like, I am here, I am a plant, and you will notice me. And this is just one of those plants. Of course, it doesn't hurt that this is like a beautiful heart leaf shape, and trust me, I'm on a bit of a heart leaf kick right now, and you will understand in a moment. I just love the little ridges and the deep recesses and the 3D effect. It gives me, you know, alocasia vibes. It gives me philodendron vibes with the heart leaf, but I just love it. It's just a nice combination of things that I typically look for in plants. I just really dig it. The next plant on my wish list, I'm just going to say it. You know, there should be no shame in this, but for some reason I feel so much shame for even putting this on the list. I want a Monstera albo. I want one. It's as simple as that. You know, I did not buy one at the beginning of this pandemic because I thought, no way are the prices going to continue to shoot up into the stratosphere. There's no way. They grow super easy. They're not rare. They're everywhere. Everyone seems to have one. But holy mother of God, they are so expensive now. And let's also keep in mind that I do have a Monstera albo node that I've had since August and has still not sprouted a leaf for me yet. It's not dead. It has a root that is lovely and healthy, but it is not producing a leaf for me. And it has been a long time since I've had this node. So I'm getting a little impatient. You could say I already have a Monstera albo, technically, but until it has a leaf, I don't have a plant. End of story. And just, it's like the perfect plant. You've got the nice heart shape, you've got the slats, you've got all these different colors that kind of meld together between white and green. And the white is so white and just pure and lovely. And the one reason I like the albo above, say, your Thai constellation is you get much more sectoral variegation where you have the big chunks and blocks of color. And I think just for the shape of a Monstera deliciosa, it just appeals to my eyes better, because when you've already got the slats and the holes going on, like a smattering, it's beautiful, don't get me wrong. It's just, I think I like the idea of having larger sections because so much of the section of the leaf is air because you can see through it. I don't know if I'm making sense. Like, trust me, I would be happy with either. Both are out of my price range. I really regret not jumping on that bandwagon immediately because I could have made cuttings by now and made my money back. But whatever. But yeah, I do still want one really, really bad. All this layer of just like irritation is just irritation at me and complete and utter jealousy. Just putting that out there. All right, the final 3 plants on my list are all philodendron. When I was ranking all of my genus from worst to best, philodendron ended up on the top of the list, mainly because of their variety of leaf shape and their ease of care, and just how readily available they are. The first philodendron I'm going to show you is going to look kind of familiar because I already have a plant very similar to this, but it is a philodendron, I'm going to butcher it, philodendron bananiae. Bananiae, something like that. This plant looks very much like my anthurium that I already have. Basically, I want that same vibe, but I think the philodendron version would be much easier. Also, I don't hear or see many people talk about this plant, so this might be one that I could maybe snag for a little bit of a better price than if everybody was talking about it. I don't know. I've never actually looked up the prices for these. I'm kind of afraid to because everything I want is just hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and it's just like, I can't do it. So I basically want this plant for the same reason I wanted the Anthurium vitarifolium. I like the long leaves. I like that it's sort of a hanging plant and it's meant to be a hanging plant. The vitarifolium and this bananiae, that is such a funny name, bananiae. It's like I'm saying banana, but like bananiae. Both of those plants are meant to be actual, hanging plants. They're meant to be growing on the side of something and then just kind of hanging off. As opposed to a lot of what we call hanging plants now, your Hoyas, stuff like that, they prefer to actually grow up something. They just grow down because they can, but that's not sort of what they would be doing in nature. And these, by nature, do actually hang. So there's something just really beautiful about them. And I like the idea of like long, skinny leaves, the belt-like look. I just dig those. And this would maybe be a little bit easier to care for than my vitarifolium. So that's why it has made its way onto my list. The next philodendron on my list is the philodendron fibrosum. This one is very hot or cold, black or white. You either really like this plant or you really don't. Just looking at them, they're kind of hard to distinguish from, your Plaminiaes, your Mammaes, your Gloriosums. They're, the standard heartleaf shape. What makes these a little bit different is the petioles. The petioles are hairy. The Philodendron verrucosum's petioles are also hairy, but they're much more sparsely hairy. These ones are like hairy. These ones are like gorillas in the mist. These ones are almost like a Muppet arm is on these petioles. So if you can get past the creepy factor, these plants are just amazing for leaf petters such as myself, because the petioles, how with all the little hairs, they're so soft but also like flexible. They're almost like rubbery or plasticky, where it'll move and you can feel it move. It's not stiff, it's not soft, it's in between, and it's just so satisfying to just like run your finger over it. It's just, I love it. So this one's definitely on the list just for those petioles. I mean, the heart leaf doesn't hurt either. I love me a good heart leaf philodendron of all varieties. I'm in this one in particular for those hairy petioles. Last but not least, this one is on my list, and it is probably at the top of my list, at least this list. It is on the top, and that is the Philodendron splendid. Now, the Philodendron splendid is a cross between a Philodendron verrucosum and a Philodendron melanochrysum. My melanochrysum has perished. I did not do a good job taking care of it. I honestly am a little worried to ever get one again. They're lovely, all of that, but for me, I'm I'm a little scared to have a melanochrysum ever again. My varicosum is actually doing very well. It took me a minute to get used to the care for it. It's a little more difficult than your average philodendron. What I love about the varicosum is the coloring it has, as well as, you know, just that I'm able to care for it, basically. But what I miss from the melanochrysum is that little subtle, soft, velvety leaf, and I also miss the sort of deeper green of it. And this basically marries those two in the most beautiful way. It fills so much of my wish list when it comes to plants. The leaves themselves are a sort of traditional heart leaf, heart-shaped philodendron, but it's got the colors of a varicosum and it's velvety. I don't know what it is about this plant, but it gives me like tropical vacation, but it also gives me Christmas. It gives me like sipping on like a wonderful cup of like orange peel tea while also saying, get a pina colada, we're going out. Like, so this is just that beautiful sort of marriage between those two. And I've seen these come on the market and they're not insanely priced, at least for a little bit smaller ones that are established. By the time I make my next wish list plant video, I'll probably have the Obovata and this Splendid. Those are the two that are just like calling my name and not so exorbitantly expensive, at least compared to the other ones on this list. Thank you so much for watching this video. Which of these wish list plants were your favorite? Do you have any of these? Any recommendations based on the ones I like? If there's other things that are similar, let me know. I'd love to get your opinions. I'd love to get your knowledge. I will take any and all knowledge you're willing to give me. But thank you so much for watching this, and I will catch you next time. Bye!